Hey, what's up everybody? It's Jason. I hope you're doing well. I've got a brand new album review for you today, and this one is kind of an interesting one. BLACKPINK's latest album, The Album. So the album kicks it off with a track called How You Like That, and I think it's actually one of the most impressive and enjoyable songs to listen to on the album. One of the most enjoyable parts of the song for me was definitely the production. I think in general, K-pop songs have kind of just like put their stamp on big, loud, robust, unapologetic productions, and this song is by no means an exception. Within the span of like 3 minutes, you go from, in-your-face horns to synth beats in the chorus and pre-chorus, and just the sass. So much sass in this song. So yeah, a lot of attitude in this song, but that's totally okay, and because of it, actually, I think I could see how people just have a lot of fun with this song. I think for me, the only downside of it is how repetitive some of the lyrics could be. There's one line especially that sticks out to me. It goes something like, look at you, now look at me. That was just, it replayed so many times that I actually had to like look at my phone to see how much longer the song was, and in general, whenever that happens, it's not a great sign. So with that, it's about a 3-minute long song. I think it could have been cut down to maybe 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but other than that, like I said, one of the more enjoyable songs on this album. After How You Like That, the album transitions into songs like Pretty Savage, and I wanted to call that one out in particular because I think it's definitely one of the weaker songs on the album. To me, there were two major problems with this song. The first being that lyrically, it's very generic. To me, it sounds like copy and pasted, just mass production pop songs with no real substance to it. And to me, the second problem was that there were a lot of trace elements in Pretty Savage from the first track off the album, How You Like That. And essentially what I mean by that is How You Like That was unique in the sense that it was the first track off the album, so you hadn't been exposed to any other tracks yet. And for that reason, you could have a lot of fun with that song. But by the time you get to Pretty Savage, which I believe is the third track in the album, on the set list I should say, you hear a lot of the same kind of production beats. Even though it's obviously not the same exact production, it's that same tone and energy. And again, both songs have attitude to spare. But the problem is when you put them together, you get this kind of weird repeat fallout, because the first track, in this case How You Like That, is like new and exciting, you haven't heard anything before. But then you get to a similar sounding song on the album, in this case Pretty Savage, and Pretty Savage just pales in comparison because it sounds too repetitive and it just shares too many traits with the original. Fortunately, from about the halfway point of the album to the end, I do think that the tracks get better, which is kind of odd to say because usually it works the other way around. And I think a lot of that upswing can be credited to my two favorite tracks off the album, Lovesick Girls and You Never Know. And I think those two songs stuck out to me in particular because the production was so different than the rest of the album. I would say that most of the tracks on the album were very just like in-your-face, upbeat songs that don't really give you a break. So when you hear these two songs, they're not necessarily slower, they're not like piano ballads or anything like that. But they do provide that same kind of energy, but in a different way due to their production. And a lot of that I would say has to do with the overall cadence of those songs, Lovesick Girls in particular, which of the two of my favorites, that one is my overall favorite, so I guess my favorite track off the album. Lovesick Girls has this kind of like pulsating guitar riff in the background, which plays throughout the verse, and the chorus I think is actually just a lot of fun. It sounds like everybody's voice is involved, and it sounds almost like a real pop group chorus. And you can certainly argue that these two songs in particular, or really any tracks off the album, are nothing more than, shallow pop productions, but I would disagree to an extent, because I don't think that you listen to an album like this for depth necessarily. These songs are really just, they're meant for fun, and I think if you judge it based off of that instead of having a cemented criteria where every song has to hit emotionally, lyrically, vocally, there's also room to just have a song for fun, And in this case, that's how I view the whole album, and that's certainly how I view those two songs. But despite not expecting emotional depth from this album, nor judging it with that expectation, I still had one major problem with this album. There's 4 tracks off of this album I still haven't mentioned, and let's see if I can remember them all. Ice Cream featuring Selena Gomez, Bet You Wanna featuring Cardi B, which I think is actually the worst song on this album. And then Crazy Over You, and I want to say Love to Hate Me. Hopefully I got those all right. So what do those 4 songs have to do with my problem with this album? It's that all of those songs are completely in English, and in the case of Ice Cream and Bet You Wanna featuring Selena Gomez and Cardi B, as I said, not only are they all in English, they sound specifically catered to American audiences. And that's my biggest problem with this album. There's only 8 songs on the album, which is way shorter than I thought it would be actually. But out of those 8 songs, 4 of them are completely in English, and I'm not a huge BLACKPINK fan, obviously. But from what I could tell, I did listen to a couple of their old albums and EPs, actually. Just kidding. I think this is their first official studio album. But I've listened to their past EPs and singles, and for the most part, there's at least, some Korean, whether it be in the verse or the raps or the chorus. And I understand K-pop has kind of transitioned into that where it's not all Korean or not all English for the most part. It's a mix of Korean and English. I understand there has to be some sort of accessibility for a wider audience in there. But with the 4 songs I already mentioned, especially Ice Cream and Bet You Wanna featuring 2 very popular American artists, I just can't overlook the fact that there just seems to be so much studio interference with this album, just trying to, you know, increase the demographics and make it listenable for everybody. And personally, I think that's just the worst thing that you could ever do for an album, is try to, like a marketer or something, try and pinpoint the demographics that you want to reach. When you try to break a song down to that granular of a level, you lose the artistry behind it, you lose whatever would have made it genuine and, you know, approachable as a listener, and it all goes out the window, and it's more studio crap. And this isn't necessarily a bash on the songs in particular, except for Bet You Wanna. I definitely think that's the worst song on the album. But, you know, Ice Cream is actually pretty enjoyable, pretty fun. But I guess I just can't get over the fact that it feels like, you know, you were trying to check boxes off on a list of criteria created by some random studio executive. And with that, you know, some of the songs just became soulless. And like I said, only 8 songs on this, and with 4 of them, they decided to do that. Now, I might be totally wrong, and, you know, maybe this is just the direction that Blackpink as a group wanted to go in, but I can't imagine that there weren't outside influences, especially with their, like, I guess, debut album, to kind of sway them in one way or another. You know, I actually feel better now. I think I've been holding on to that thought for a few too many hours. So to wrap this all up, I can definitely see why some listeners would label this album as, like, generic or not, you know, emotionally rich enough to listen to, but I do think that there is another side of music that can let you just listen to it and have fun at a very surface level. So with that in mind, I'm gonna leave Blackpink's The Album at a 5 out of 10. Don't at me, Blackpink fans. Alright, so that does it for this review. Certainly an album that I wasn't originally planning on reviewing, but glad I did, and I hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, please like or subscribe below. It really helps me out. Until next time, stay safe, be kind. Thank you.